Welcome back to Book Break and welcome to our April book haul, and this one is a big one because I have been sent not one but two massive boxes full of books, and these are going to be some of the most exciting books that we have published here at Macmillan throughout the month of April. So I'm very excited to dive in. Let's unbox them together. Starting with box number one. Oh, such a beautiful book right on the top. This is The Maiden by Kate Foster. This is a historical crime story. It is based on a true story of a woman called Lady Christian Nimmo who was executed for murdering her lover. And this is a fictionalized feminist retelling. But can we go back to how stunning this book is? Look at it. So it's historical fiction, it's set in Edinburgh in 1679, and it questions what we know from the original story. Why would a privileged, respectable woman like this have risked so much to murder this man? And was she really the only woman in this man's life who might have wanted him dead? It has a quote on the back here from the book. "In the end, it did not matter what I said at my trial. No one believed me." And then we've got an image of a guillotine. So that is chilling. So this book is going to be about giving a voice to this woman whose voice was denied and disbelieved. Another chunky hardback, Lords of Uncreation by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So this is one for the sci-fi fans. Adrian Tchaikovsky is the master of science fiction, and this book is set in the deep cold of space. Adrian Tchaikovsky is the author of the Final Architecture series, and this is book 3 in the trilogy. The final book is finally here. Deep within unspace, where time moves differently and reality isn't quite what it seems. Then a book newly out in paperback with a brand new look, brand new cover. This is The Dance Tree by Kieran Millward Hargrave. So back to some historical fiction. The Dance Tree is set even further back in time. This is in 1518 in Strasbourg, and it is set during this real, true phenomenon that actually happened, which was this dance plague. People in the city of Strasbourg, particularly women, seemed unable to control themselves and were unable to stop dancing, and they had to get the city authorities called in as this whole population of the city seemed to be dancing themselves to death. So it's this absolutely remarkable true story that happened, and the Dance Tree is set during this phenomenon, during this heat wave that led to this whole city losing their minds. Kieran Millward Hargrave is also really beloved for her feminist historical fiction, and this book focuses on the interwoven lives of 3 women during this summer. For some poetry, we've got Divisible by Itself and One, which is the latest collection from K. Tempest. I was lucky enough to actually get to see K. Tempest reading some of these poems a few weeks ago, which was such an amazing experience. They are incredible, they're so powerful and evocative, and these poems are described as engaging with the big questions and the emotional states in which we live and create. And then a really useful book here, The Art of Starting, which is all about how to build your creative business from the ground up. I know so many of us these days have these creative side hustles, and so this book is becoming increasingly relevant to the way that so many of us live our lives. The book will help you set up your side project or even ditch your day job and get your business off the ground and up and running. And it's advice you can really trust because it's written by 2 entrepreneurs, 2 women who learned the hard way about how to get their businesses up and running and how to get success. And so in this book, they are now teaching us everything they wish they'd known from the beginning. And would you look at that? We have emptied one box, the first box, which was smaller. So we've got a lot more to come. Well, first book on the top of the second box, one of the most highly anticipated on our list, One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. Another stunning cover here, and on that note, make sure you are subscribed to Book Break because we have another video coming up very, very soon where I'm actually going to take you behind the scenes at the printers and show you how a book like this is brought to life. So make sure you're subscribed. One for My Enemy is a Romeo and Juliet retelling. It's about 2 rival witch families in New York, and people are obsessed with it already. And when I say this book is beautiful, I really mean it. Look at these gorgeous end papers. There are illustrations throughout. It's stunning. Another book from a beloved author, In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. So this one is a sort of Pinocchio retelling. Welcome to the heart of a peculiar forest and the beginning of an extraordinary journey. It's kind of Pinocchio with robots, so it's about this little found family who live together of a human and 3 androids. But the androids, one of the androids has a dark past, which he has run away from, but in this book, he suddenly risks being found by people from his past who might want to take him back and reprogram him. It's an adventure, it's heartwarming as all of his books are, it's found family, it's love. You're gonna love it. Not Alone by Sarah K. Jackson is a dystopia set in the near future where our world has become unsafe. The environment has become unsafe due to toxic microplastics in the air. And so this book is about a mother who has to protect her young son at all costs, which means not letting him outside. This woman, Katie, has managed to keep them alive for 5 years since the majority of the population were killed off. She has to scavenge for food, she has to protect her child at all costs, but she is realizing now that maybe in order to get him somewhere safer, she is going to have to take him out into the world that she's been trying to protect him from. So this is a great combination of a really beautifully written book with a really tense page-turning premise. And it's sparkly. Can you see that? I mean, the sparkles are showing toxic dust in the air, but it is pretty. Concerning My Daughter by Kim Hae-jin is a book that I have raved about a lot already here at Book Break, but I absolutely loved it. It's a very short, very beautiful book. It's a sort of character study about a mother coming to terms with how much the world has changed for her daughter. So she, at the beginning of the book, is really struggling to accept her daughter's queerness, and her adult daughter, has had to move back home recently and brought her girlfriend with her. And the mother of this story cannot accept this relationship. She will welcome them into her home, but not be friendly in any way. And so she is in many ways a really unsympathetic character, but the book is so beautifully written that you actually do go on this journey with her and understand that everything she does and everything she believes comes from a place of love for her daughter. You would think that it'd be hard to empathize with somebody who has beliefs like that, but you do really, really learn to understand her. So she works at a care home for elderly people, and she sees there the way that her patients are treated who don't have traditional family setups, and that's not what she wants for her daughter. So that's what I mean when I say everything comes from this place of love. But the book really does take you on a journey. I thought it was gorgeous. Another book that has a whole new look in paperback, The Last Summer by Karen Swan. I love the colours here. So this is set on a wild, remote Scottish island called St Kilda, where 2 strangers from drastically different worlds meet. It's the first book in a whole new series from Karen Swan, the Wild Isle series, and this one is set in the 1930s, and it's actually inspired by the true history of this island, St Kilda, and its small, tight-knit community. So really beautiful setting. And there's a quote here from Kathy Bramley saying this is the most exciting, enchanting, and evocative story of forbidden love I've ever read. That's high praise. Sea of Tranquility by Emily St John Mandel is another one you have heard me raving about a lot. I actually recently made a video where I plotted out on a whiteboard all of the connections between Emily St John Mandel's books, because she has a lot of characters that pop up in different novels, even though they are all standalone. It's really, really clever. She's got a whole multiverse. I will link below to that video so you can go and dive down that rabbit hole with me. Sea of Tranquility is newly out in paperback. Again, whole new stunning new look. This is a time travel novel, which I absolutely loved. It's so clever the way it all fits together. So we jump from the past to the present day to hundreds of years into the future when humanity is living in space. And in each of those timelines, somebody gets a glimpse into a universe or a time that isn't their own. And then so a time traveller from the far future has to come back and solve what's going on. This is a book I would recommend to so many different types of readers. Literary fiction readers who never dabble in sci-fi, fans of time travel, fans of parallel universes. So many different kinds of readers will love this book. Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart is again newly out in paperback. This is another Romeo and Juliet style story, this time between 2 boys living in Glasgow, growing up in this pretty violent, pretty brutal masculine world where a love like theirs would not be accepted. The main character is a boy called Mungo, who is such a soft, gentle, lovely boy who struggles to find a space to be a boy like him in this world. And the book actually jumps back and forth between two timelines set just a few months apart. So in the present day, one Mungo has been sent off on this fishing trip with two mysterious men. You'll find out a bit more about who they are. And then a few months earlier, he is meeting and falling in love with James, and that leads to this kind of violent conclusion. And going back and forth, it was sometimes hard to know which section was harder to read, which had the most sadness and most fear in it. But just like in Shaggy Bane, what Douglas Stewart does really well as a writer is fills his novels with so much love and so much heart that shines through despite the often increasing bleakness of what is happening. Time Come is a collection of prose written by the Linton Kwesi Johnson, who is largely considered to be one of the greatest poets of our time, as well as being a social critic, an activist. And this book is the first collection of this sort of his prose selected from reviews published in newspapers and magazines, from lectures, from speeches written over many decades of his career. And the way that it's all put together like that is kind of a collection that almost borders on being a memoir of a really extraordinary life. We have a David Baldacci, Simply Lies. This is a standalone novel from #1 best-selling author David Baldacci. So what is this one about? A street detective turned cyber investigator, that's very interesting, meets a mysterious woman called Arlene Robinson, only he discovers that there is no woman of that name working for the company that she says she works for. And so between this detective and this mysterious woman springs up a sinister and compelling cat and mouse contest. I just got distracted by looking at David Baldacci's bio at the back, which says he's written more than 50 bestsellers. He's good at what he does. Got a few more new paperback releases here, all dark books in very different ways. So first up, Very Cold People by Sarah Manguso. This is a book I've been very interested in reading but haven't actually read yet, so this is the one that's going to come home with me today. It's set in a town in Massachusetts, described as this frigid landscape, unforgiving and awash with secrets. And this town harbours a lot of dark history. This jewel of a novel reveals the suffocating constraints of growing up in a very old and very cold small town. Here lies a vital confrontation with an all-American whiteness where the ice of emotional restraint meets the embers of smouldering rage. So this book sounds very dark. It is about violence. It is about abuse. The Observer described it as a masterclass in unease. Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney is another masterclass in unease in a very different way. This is a thriller. It's a sort of reimagining of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, with a very big twist, a very big update to the story. Daisy Darker is attending her grandmother's 80th birthday on an island, completely cut off overnight from the mainland. And this family are reuniting for the grandmother's birthday for the first time in years. If you like books about dysfunctional families, this is one for you. But as I've mentioned, And Then There Were None, you may be getting a hint of where this book is going to go when they are cut off from the mainland. One by one, members of this family are going to start to die. And The Blame Game by Sandy Jones is another thriller. This is a your word against mine, two sides to every story mystery. On the one hand, we have one side of the story, which is he came to me for help with his marriage. I needed to make him understand that he had to get away. Now it has gone too far and I can't tell anyone what I've done. The other side of the story, I was alone and afraid. She was there when I needed to talk. I knew what I needed to do, I just couldn't do it on my own. I trusted her. Now I have nowhere to turn and I just pray they find me before she does. So already painting two very different pictures of this story, but as it says here, there are two sides to every story and then there's the truth. This is a very exciting looking thriller, Going Zero by Anthony McCartan. You have 2 hours to vanish and 1 chance to escape. So this is for fans of things like Ready Player One and Lost, but it's a really, really modern update on both of those things. So 10 people have been carefully selected to test out a groundbreaking piece of spyware that claims it can track anyone wherever they are on Earth. So these 10 people are each given 2 hours to go zero, to go off-grid and disappear, and then they have 30 days to elude this spyware trying to track them. the prize is money, but for one of the contestants, the stakes are actually even higher than that. This game is personal, and so in this game, the contestants will stop at nothing. And at last, the final book in the box, and it's a beautiful one, Homecoming by Kate Morton. This is another one that you may have heard me mention once or twice here on this channel. Homecoming is a Kate Morton classic. It's got everything that you know and love about Kate Morton's books, with a new twist. This book is set in Australia. So Kate Morton is generally famous for setting her books at grand English houses, but she's actually an Australian writer, and so she has gone home and she has set this book in the beautiful Australian landscape. And I so loved reading about this country that I've never been to, but can now totally envision from her writing all of the incredible wildlife, all of the beautiful plants and flowers. So I loved that side of this book. But of course, it's also got a central mystery. It's got parallel timelines. We're going back and forth to try and find the connections between characters from 1959 to present day. Back in 1959, there was a famous tragedy, an unsolved murder case that was all over the newspapers called the Turner family tragedy, where a whole family were found dead, mysteriously dead. In the present day, a girl called Jess has gone home from London to Australia to go and look after her very ill grandmother, and she discovers a connection between her own family and the Turner family from this mystery all those years ago. And there is just twist after twist after twist. I did my best to come up with my own theories about this book, to try and solve what was going on, and I did not guess that everything that was going to happen in this book really took me by surprise and was beautiful along the way. So that was possibly the biggest book haul that we have done for quite some time here on Book Break. I will link here to a playlist of all of our other book haul videos if you want to go back through and browse some of our other most exciting releases, and do let me know in the comments which of those books you are most excited about. And I'll see you next time.